My guest today is a really exceptional woman. Her name is Laura Patac, and Laura is an ex-corporate leader. She has worked in over 5 continents, 7 countries. She is a strengths coach. She's an entrepreneur. She's an author. Her book is called Stories with Purpose, and she's actually a poet as well. And this is an incredible woman with so much energy who really knows herself well. And what is so inspiring in Laura is that she, in real time, can transform you. I experienced that in this interview. She brings so much impact and opens your mind to thinking about how your story can transform impact, as well as thinking about success in business. I can't wait for you to listen. Laura, it is so lovely to have you on the pod today. How are you doing and where are you?
Oh, Dolly, it's so amazing to meet you, and for everyone listening or like seeing our podcast. Dolly and I, we've just met like 15 minutes ago for the first time, and we are on the roll, and our energy, it's so amazing together. So
Yes.
thank you so much for having me. I'm right now in Bucharest, my home country, but in fact, I'm living in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. It's too hot right now in Dubai, 50 Celsius, humidity 70%. So I just ran away to a place which I can also call home, though
Lovely.
Dubai is my second home away from home. So very happy to be with you here.
Oh, Laura, it's so lovely to have you. You're right. It's been really fun to meet you just now. So just give us a little bit of a background. What's your career background? Who is behind Laura with her career?
How much time do we have? No, I'm
Yes.
joking. I'm joking. Joke aside is that I'm a former mathematician turned poetry writer, and we are going to discuss about this. Let's not forget poetry is mathematics at the end of the day.
Wow.
And
Never
and
thought of that.
poetry is also storytelling, like any other form of art. And I'm a former corporate executive. I lived in 7 countries, 5 continents, many roles. I've met amazing people. I lived in these 7 countries, and the diversity and the number of people I've met, the cultures I tasted, it was like amazing. So it was a very rich corporate experience, which it helped me to turn to be an entrepreneur a year ago. And as an entrepreneur, of course, I do what I know to do best. I talk about leadership, and I help people to ignite the spark of their leadership through a story-led, strengths-driven development. The way how I'm thinking is that, I was a leader most of my life. I was, thinking success. Later on, I started to think impact. So now, thinking impact, looking back, I want to help my 20-year-old self to really go much faster, be much bold, and eliminate some of the life pitfalls, especially when it comes to corporate life.
Wow. That's a lot you've just said. And it's in a good way. There's like 94 conversations I now want to have. But can I just get some clarity? What kind of corporate sectors were you involved in?
So I started in fast-moving consumer goods
Yeah.
from the very low level. I was an assistant at the beginning. I moved in the early 2000 when mobile communication was having a boom. I've been privileged to really learn sales and the kind of sales strategy and leading teams in the mobile communication industry. And after 6 years, I joined financial services, and much more precise, the remittance business, where I've been for over 20 years, actually close to 20 years. And that was the place where I grew up the most. And I had this amazing journey working and living in 7 countries on 5 continents. And I started my first destination as an expat. It was Moscow, Russia, for 5 years. And I moved through Europe. I lived in the United States for 2 years, and that journey helped me move from sales to operations and product. And even if you are thinking that I started like in corporation, like a business, in my last job in financial services, I started like a business developer manager, and I did an exit like head of global product. So to me, it is a very, big high loop journey.
Wow.
And I'm very grateful for that journey, for all the people helped me go through the challenges, to the loops, because corporate life, it's not a it's it sounds very cool and posh, but it's very hard work, and it's a very tough world, by the way, to survive in. And that was a time when I sharpen and I really start thinking about leadership more through the lenses of self-leadership.
Yeah. So you kept saying you've had this journey and you've been grateful for this journey in the corporate space, but you've also said it can be really tough to survive. It's just interesting that we have these journeys, but sometimes it's tough to survive. What were the areas for you that made it tough to survive in the corporate space?
When I'm saying it's tough to survive, it means that you really need to understand what are those strengths, not weaknesses, which are going to help you go through the corporate life. Corporate life is very competitive, first of all. There is competitive. There are many. There are many. Let's see how I'm gonna frame this. Like corridors of power. Let's call it like this. There are many corridors of power which you really need to understand. There is also that support model which, if you want to evolve and if you want to enhance your image and your influence, you really need to start building that support model, which requires time and effort. And I think that any leader going through corporate, they really need to be aware that results are not enough. If you are just a hardworking and you work your ass off 12, 16 hours a day and you just have results, that is not enough. Because besides performance, which needs to be there, because you together with your team as a leader, you drive results. But you also really need to have presence. And you really need to have that kind of influence and impact on your teams, which will help them to rally around the purpose. People are coming to the job not only for the paycheck, or at least I hope that they are not just coming for the paycheck. Because if you are coming just for the paycheck, I doubt that you're gonna really have that kind of drive and motivation. But when you have a leader who comes with that kind of motivation, and you see the energy and you see the drive, and you know that you get from that leader why is important to do what the team does and why is important for you specifically as an employee, your motivation is ramping up. I think leaders who are able to articulate the why, they are the ones which are going to connect people individual objectives with that why.
So what if we were going to hone in on those words? So success isn't enough, results isn't enough. It's about presence, impact, and influence. How would you define those three words?
How I will define these three words? Okay, I will define it like, I'm gonna be back to what I know to do best. It's about it's about a story-led presence and influence, as a leader, storytelling, it's not optional as a skill.
Hmm.
In the moment when you are presenting in front of your bosses, in front of your team, you want to rally resources around an idea, around a purpose. Storytelling is your skill. So to create presence and influence, you really need to know how to tell stories which are going to connect with individuals, but also they connect the individuals to the higher purpose. Presence, it's also about stamina, the way how you carry on yourself, your motivation and your energy.
Mm. So that's really interesting, because presence, the reason I ask you to define it is because often you could, I could have come to that word and just thought, oh, it's about being still in yourself, authentic in yourself, in this present moment. But you're pushing it a little further, right? So, and what did you just say about presence? It was
Well, I was just saying that presence, it's not just about the way how you rally and the energy, it's also your stamina, the way
stamina
how you
and
come,
energy. Yeah.
stamina and energy, right? Because, so think about like this. You know that saying that when you enter the room, actually your presence entered that room before you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
The energy which is capturing people attention, and you really have you are that magnet attracting people looking up to you. That is what I'm calling, like, the
Wow.
presence, right?
Wow. Yeah. What you
And
carry with you.
how you carry yourself on, right? Like, are you the kind of leader who is just like, entering the elevator saying a grumpy good morning to people, or you are the leader entering the elevator looking around saying, hello folks, how are you doing in this beautiful day?
Yeah.
And how, who has a customer story?
So I've told you before the call. I used to be a pastor, a vicar's wife, and the church we were affiliated with was the Church of England. So they wear the dog collar,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
and I used to see many vicars out and about, going to the dentist, or just on the tube in London with their dog collar on, which is very much representing a leadership and a spiritual leadership role.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I used to get so cross with seeing them representing such a significant space, sitting on the train like this, like looking really grumpy, not saying hi to anyone. And it some people used to kick back and go, well, they're humans, Dolly, let them be human. And I really recognize that. Like, we need to be human. But when you are notably in a recognized situation, there is
Exactly.
there is an element of wearing that as and the tricky thing here, though, is where do we be authentic and not fake? We don't want to put on a performance of, hi, I love being a leader, hi, I love being a vicar, I'm friendly all the time, at the expense of our own energy and our own self.
Yeah.
But there is that space, isn't there, of knowing what you carry as a role. What are your thoughts on that authentic person versus representing the role?
It's very interesting because yesterday I had a conversation about authenticity and how you come across. And I am back to individual and natural talents which
Yeah.
individuals have, right? And you can, if you know those talents, and we talked briefly about, Clifton Strengths,
Right.
which gives you the information about your top 10 talents, which comes very naturally to you. And if you start honing and you recognize those talents and you act on it, like every day, they become your strengths. So it's the same with the presence and the way how you carry on yourself. And depending on your strengths, you might find different ways to fill in that need of presence.
Love.
Maybe you are not going to be the bubbly leader who is like shining and smiling every day,
Right.
but you're gonna be the inspirational one when you're gonna just be speaking when it's necessary. So instead of like entering the elevator and being bubbly on, oh, hey guys, how are you doing? Ta ta ta, give me a customer story. You can enter the elevator saying, oh, hi guys, how are you doing? I feel very good today. You just tell them a story about you. I feel very good today. I'm gonna be having some couple of very good meetings, and my agenda is saying that I'm gonna make an impact. What impact you're gonna do by the end of the day?
Love it.
You move that. So to me, it depends how you want that authentic
Yeah.
face to look like
Mm.
for you as a leader.
And
There are some leaders which are just quiet, but that quietness
oh, it's so
comes
good.
comes with a presence, and you already proved yourself through many other actions that you bring value, and your team knows exactly on why they are in for the ride.
Yeah.
And you don't need to speak, you just need to smile, and people will come towards you.
Yeah. I love that you've highlighted the impact of knowing your strengths. And you coach in this area in particular, but it is strength-based psychology of really knowing what are your strengths and doing a deep dive. And it's worth investing, isn't it, to do that, to really know what they are, how to articulate them, so that you can then give yourself permission to embody them more fully. And that's
Yeah.
where we go back to that energy. You get energy when you are in your strengths. And I would actually argue that if anyone listening feels exhausted, burnt out, worn out, probably you've lost sight of your strengths and are not utilizing them, because that's where
Yeah, and so sorry to interrupt. I
no.
know that it's not okay, but when you are pronouncing strengths, I'm just like I feel empowered to
Yes.
to reinforce that.
100%. Yeah, because we've
But
we've talked about this, because actually I know that before I discovered my strengths, of course we all know what we're good and bad at, but it's different to that. This is actually this internal system of actually what makes the cells in my body vibrate at a higher level. And when I was living in a life where I wasn't in my strengths, I was very capable at my non-strengths. So you can hide behind it. It's not about what you're capable of and what you could be good at. It's so much deeper. I actually used to get ill a lot, and like body sickness and
yeah.
this and that and this and that. And since I've moved into strengths, I don't get sick like I used to. It's really interesting how the body has more energy and health in the strengths,
Yes, because you are using effortlessly
right?
what naturally comes to you.
Yeah.
Are you up for? I know that your podcast is about giving example and giving people time to think. Are you up for, let's say, 1 minute very great exercise, which I have for
Oh,
people to really understand strengths?
do it. 100%.
Okay. Do you have a piece of paper and a pen next to you?
Yes.
Fantastic. What is your dominant hand in writing?
Right hand.
So you are a right-handed, and
Yes.
your non-dominant hand is your left.
Correct.
Fantastic. Divide a piece of paper in two. With your non-dominant hand, I would like you to start writing, I know my strengths. And you're going to do that for 30 seconds.
Okay,
Write it
now
continuously. Yeah.
with my
Start now.
non-dominant hand. Yeah. This is hilarious.
You can stop now.
Okay.
Fantastic. Take your dominant hand and write the same sentence continuously. You start now.
This is fun.
You can stop now.
Okay.
Okay. Could you please tell me how many times you wrote with your non-dominant hand?
Oh, non-dominant 2 at 1.5.
Okay. With your dominant hand?
6.
Fantastic. Let's unpack this.
Ooh. I actually, if many of my clients are listening, they know that I do this exercise, but I do it with signing your name. I love this one. It's way better with writing these sentences. Yeah,
So think like this.
go on.
You have to think of your natural easygoing, the talents which you have them when you get out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
you have to think about like you are writing with your dominant hand, effortlessly 6 times and so on. You have to think about your weaknesses as being your left hand, the ones which you're non-dominant hiding.
Yeah.
So the effort which you're gonna put to start exercising every day to get to the same 6 sentences which you have with your dominant hand is going to be tremendous.
Huge.
And any kind of effort you're gonna be putting with your non-dominant hand in writing that sentence, it's still not going to be not really nearly good enough as you are doing with your dominant hand. It's same with strength. So instead of investing time in really trying to fill the gap of some weaknesses, which will never become your strengths, why not just using your strengths at the best to drive actions and to counter for the weaknesses which you have?
Which nods back to the energy piece that we need for our presence, to hold our presence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you're gonna drain energy trying to write 6 times that sentence or trying to fill in that weakness, because that doesn't come naturally to you.
Yeah.
But you're gonna just thrive and you have joy and you have fun because you tap into your strengths. So therefore you're not gonna feel drained.
So helpful. So help me understand for you, because I want to bring us into this poetry and storytelling place.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to go there.
Right.
But what was it for you, Laura, on your journey that took you from a rich corporate life that was quite tough to survive in that power corridor, as you mentioned? What was the tipping point that made you want to change your career and to become an entrepreneur? What happened and why?
Well, I realized that I was just having success, and I knew that I could create a better impact. And let me unpack this. In corporate life, I was a hardworking person. I had amazing teams, amazing individuals, smart, driven. Of course, we were complementing each other, and we were hitting the deadlines, the projects, the performance, and everything. But at one moment, when you pause yourself and say, okay, so I'm doing all this, but what is the impact of what I'm doing? I don't want to pat myself on the shoulder, but I think in my corporate life I have impacted positively many of my colleagues' life through the stories, through the experiences we had together, with what we learned together. But I had this question about, can I do more than that, and can I also enjoy it? Because when you are just you are stuck in this kind of success wheel. You accomplish something, there is something coming up. Sometimes you don't really celebrate
Very
things.
common problem. Very common
You,
problem.
you, you don't celebrate. You just move from one accomplishment or one target to the other. You don't stop and breathe and reflect about, okay, so if I did this, how this is going to impact the life of people around me, so, or how this is going to impact the life of my customers, to really get to take that in, right? And I realized that I really needed to start thinking more impact than success. And in having joy, my happy place is writing. I'll be very honest. Like, I like spending time like writing, and I'm having fun with you know those moments when you write, you read back, and after that you start laughing about what you. It's like, for me, it's like it's my happy place. people might think that it's a very lonely one. It's not a lonely one, because when I'm sharing what I'm writing, that doesn't become lonely anymore. And I reconnected with my purpose. So when I had this kind of success impact, I said, okay, so how this is connected with my purpose? And I was lucky enough to start thinking about purpose and discover my purpose in my late 30s. And my purpose was always about legacy. How people will think about me, how I'm gonna impact people's life, what I'm committed to bring into this world in order to create an impact. And I realized that through poetry, through my books, and through coaching, I can really scale much better, and with the help of social media. And I have this crazy, beautiful objective that by 2030 I really want to impact the life of millions of people with my books, my coaching, every value I could bring, and people, they can leverage that within their lives.
Wow.
So that I said, if I can achieve this and be in my happy place and have this kind of beautiful moments as I'm having with you, you know what? I'm just gonna be doing that, because it's connected with my purpose.
Wow. So it's the impact already in our conversation since I've met you has been one of hope, I feel encouraged. I feel more, my hope is about tapping into my strengths more. And that's only, you haven't even coached me. We're just having a quick chat. So I can definitely be one of your million people. You only got 999,000 people to go.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm keeping the list.
But I am so intrigued about poetry, and I really want to take us to that point, because I think there's something so fascinating about the career you've had to now being a voice. I know the storytelling and poetry. What's the difference between storytelling and poetry?
None.
Okay. So
So,
yeah, say more.
so poetry is storytelling.
Yeah.
Let me give you a very interesting fact which I discovered during research for my first book.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked myself, what is the first story which is known by humankind? And the first story known by humankind, in fact, it's a poem. It's the poem of King Gilgamesh. It's nowadays, if as a territory, it's nowadays Iran or Iraq, one of the two. But it's a poem written on 12 clay plates, and it's about a superhero story. Because that poem is describing how this King Gilgamesh is slaying the dragons, is fighting for the good of the people. So to me, that for me was like, wow. And I realized that storytelling, it's any form of art. Either it's a poetry, either it's dance, music, painting, either it's a presentation in front of a board, a feedback tell to someone. More than 70% of our time, we tell stories. And in this process of research, what I realized that out of all the stories we tell in life, that's 70%, because the rest we are sleeping. But even our dreams are a bit of a storytelling. But out of all the stories we tell in our life, two are very important. One is your unique story, your unique individual story, because the point where you are right now in life and who you become in this very moment, that's a unique experience which can be very easily outlined into a unique story. And the second, it's about the stories we tell to ourselves here. That kind of And we know that, imposter syndrome, if people are saying, no, I don't have it, no. All 98%. I was just talking with someone on Friday. We were talking about imposter syndrome, which is not even a syndrome. It's like, it's the
Right.
way how we are like, we are like, managing that self-talk,
Yeah.
which through research, actually, it comes negative at first. So to me, all that conversation here and the stories we tell to ourselves, it's very
Yeah.
important how we tell those stories. So to me, if you ask me poetry is storytelling, coming back to your question.
Mm.
And the way how I thought about bringing bringing value, I wrote this first book, which is named Stories with Purpose. Your story has purpose too. Helping readers or anyone experiencing the book to understand one, the power of storytelling, two, to be able to start scribbling their own unique story, which is a very powerful tool in interactions. And it's also very powerful when you realize those kind of like big handful of moments bringing you where you are right now, and you take a step forward and you understand what strengths have you used going through those handful of moments. That's a magnificent way of like discovering yourself. So as I said, power of storytelling, um, you understand that you can start writing your own story. And the third thing is that there are some prompts in the book which can help you, in fact, put your story into verse, into lyrics. And if you really want to go that step further, you might get out of the book experience. You might get out with a poem, which is going to be fantastic. So, so to me, this first book, it gives you the understanding about the power of storytelling. And it also contains 28 of my poems with the stories behind what inspired that poem, and 56 mind-bending questions which can help the reader enter that kind of white space of reflection, which is going to end up with them writing their own story.
I mean, I can't wait to get the book, and I would love to do that. However, I'm thinking of people listening who are, busy execs or haven't had much space in their life to practice this muscle of self-reflection and self-story. So there has to be a kind of reason to buy into it. So what what would it give? And you would know because you've been there. What would it give a busy leader if they utilized this, if they went into the power of storytelling and wrote their own story? So what?
Well, think about your own story and the story which you told me at the beginning, the way how we connected. If I
Yeah.
was not about to ask you, tell me a bit about yourself, and you gave me in like less than 3 minutes, I understood that you are an amazing, strong woman going through a life shift which empowers you to become a best new version of you. The way how you told me that, you inspired me. We connected through that.
Wow.
So leaders, they, I think the unique way how you can connect and to show your authentic you and to be true through your stories, it's your unique stories, the experiences. And I can go with you through a very small, I would say, I'm gonna be calling this like a small framework which I'm
Lovely.
using for micro stories. And I'm using this framework usually when I'm also posting on LinkedIn, or I just want to get out something which is very emotional to me and I want to share with others.
Share it. Let's do it.
So the there are different frameworks which leaders might consider depending on purpose. You have the framework for micro stories, which I'm going to be sharing right now.
Yep.
But you have the little frameworks from hook story teach, when you share something which really impacted you in a very emotional way, and you share that, and after that you unpack how that happened and what kind of teachings you have. That's mostly for social media. So there are different frameworks, but let's stick with the story framework. And it sits, the story stands for, not sits, stands for,
Yeah,
stands, stands for the scene as it's seen. And it's about where and when your story begins. We have after that what I'm calling the tension, and that describes very briefly the challenge or the decision which you were faced to take. Oh, it's the opportunity, comes from opportunity. What actions did you take? R is the revelation or the realization, however you want to call it. It's an R. And it's about what insights emerged from that kind of experiences and the way how you faced the challenge and the actions you took, what you realized. And why it's about you forward. How does it shape you now? How that experience, that learning, that realization, it shapes you now. And just to give you the example, because you
please,
asked me about, how you come into the storytelling and poetry,
please.
I'm going to be using my own story, and I'm going to be saying like this. I'm going to say like, I was 16, an introvert, present, but very invisible child. That's the scene. It was hard for me to express in words what I think or how I feel, and it was very hard to connect with the dear ones. That was the tension.
Yeah.
It was, I was not connecting. The opportunity is that I started to journal in the time when nobody was talking about journaling, to be very honest. So I started to journal, and I discovered that I can encrypt in metaphor my emotions.
Huh.
That became a bit of a solution and an opportunity in the same time. So what I realized that my poems become my channel to connect emotionally with my friends and with my mom.
Wow.
And what it means to me nowadays and how it shapes who I am right now is that today I write poetry and I publish to enable people to discover their own story and connect meaningfully with others. And this is in less than 150 words.
Thank you for sharing that example. So it really lands. It was very eloquent, and it's a really clear framework. And I was obviously, my brain was going, oh, I could share a story in that framework. If we're thinking of examples where people could use this, I just had a thought, but would it work for this or not? We talk a lot in business about psychological safety. You know, this term of feeling connected, of feeling we can trust. And this is what we're talking about, connection. Because if we can
Yeah.
connect, we're making impact in everything that sits on that trust and connection and openness. And I just want to say as a disclaimer, professional openness. We're not all like it's not therapy at work, right?
Yeah.
But having that openness, that transparency of self through story would be a really useful tool. It sounds like the wrong word for it, but a vehicle with which to create psychological safety.
It's a
But
platform. It's a
platform,
platform.
I like that word
Yeah.
better, much better. A platform, thank you. But what about if you don't feel psychologically safe? So I work obviously in different places, and a lot of things is I can't say, I can't speak up, I'll get shot down. It's easier to stay quiet. For example, how could the person that feels like that use this framework to share a pain or a problem with how they're working, do you think? Like, where could it be practically used to resolve problems?
This can be taken a bit into feedback.
I was thinking that.
If you, yeah. So feedback might have a bit of a polished framework, but still the story and the authentic you're gonna still think about the situation, the
Yeah.
scene. And let me just start improvising as we speak, right?
Lovely.
So think about that you are in a professional setup and you felt shut down in a meeting. Okay? You pull yourself up with a smile and you knock at the at the person's door to whom you want to give the feedback, and you can start right now. So good that I've seen you in that meeting. I've been very silent in that meeting because I didn't feel that the discussion was going in a direction which actually I felt comfortable going to, right? So you already say the scene, it was that meeting, you've been there, we've been together. The tension is that the discussion was going into a direction and you didn't felt comfortable with.
Right.
The opportunity might be, you know what, I think that we ended up like this because maybe we didn't align before the meeting. And the opportunity is that let's get some alignment before going to a meeting, and let's speak with the same voice, right? And the revelation could be that maybe we should have together, especially for big stake meetings, a bit of 10 minutes prep before stepping in. And what it means for us moving forward is that we are going to get used with each other, going together as a team instead of being just two individuals participating in a meeting.
Lovely.
That could that
That could
could
work.
be the way how you can use, because I just went through the story steps,
Yeah.
describing a feedback session, right? So
Yeah.
you know what, I didn't, thank you, it was amazing, you had a very good input, but I didn't feel connected with what you are saying
Hmm.
because I think that we didn't align it before. Could be a good opportunity for us to align before going into the meeting. What are the next big stakes meeting where we are both together? Let's align before, take 10 minutes over a coffee. We have the opportunity to even connect much more than just seeing each other directly in meetings or in the elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Rather, because this is the thing though, when so I've learnt this beautiful phrase which says we want to live by intention, not accidentally. And so
Yeah.
when we're just in the flow of just doing meetings, of doing life, of being a leader, we can be very capable, not in our strengths, just become very good with our non-dominant hand and look almost ambidextrous. But when we're going through it, that we can often we haven't practiced the muscle of self-reflection. And it's this thing of taking time, which everyone's like, I haven't got time. But if we wanted to get it granular and bring it back to the person, the singular leader, if they're listening to this today and we're like, I would like to practice my own mini story, a bit like yours, for example, they might not know where the scene is. They might not know which bit of their life or their career was the tension. And I know you said this is a micro story process, but how would you help someone who, dare I say it, is a bit emotionally constipated? How would you help them to access a bit more of this self-reflective stuff, the scene, the tension, the opportunity?
I'm just gonna help them unpack thinking about their last success. People like
Nice.
like a good experience, right? Let's if you are thinking about the last moment where you felt good in your life, in your career, with your team, how that moment look like. And after that, you picture that moment and you start saying, okay, so where I was in that very moment, who was with me, how
Will
I
you
achieved success.
will you practice it with me now as a case study, just a short? So if I'm
Def-
because then people can maybe journey with me. So fill in whatever I say to anyone listening, fill in your thing. Okay. So I'm starting on
so
something.
Dolly,
Yeah.
yes. So Dolly, think about the last moment you've been proud about yourself.
I recently I moved house. that I was proud. I did it by myself and it was a lot of work. And I moved in and everything has happened like it was meant to. A lot of organizing. And I had a glass of wine in my new garden and was like, go girl, you did it.
So fantastic. So where that has been, and with whom you were when you were doing all this effort?
So with my children and with some friends who've helped me and my mother. So I've had good friend support. I've done it with and for my children, and I've had my mother as well to support me.
What 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 was the decision? What drove that decision to move houses and everything else?
So sadly, there was a divorce, and so I had to move house. And the tension, that was sad because you're leaving a home you've always known for a long time that was the nuclear family home. So it was a grief and a sadness to leave that, um, but was inevitable and had to happen.
Okay. And what action? So you've been, going through that shift. What kind of actions you really took to be able to move? Because moving houses, I think it's quite like a complex process. How you navigated that process?
I think I navigated it by recognizing that anything big just starts with a phone call or a Google search, right? And so, what do I need to do to move house? I need an estate agent. So I phoned a bunch. And the next thing
Mm-hmm.
is they phone back and they come and visit the house. And then the next thing
Mm-hmm.
is making a choice of which agent, what's the price. It's a series of phone calls and decisions
Mm-hmm.
along the way. But then you have to get a lawyer to do the sale. And I had to go and look at new houses. Again, a phone call for the estate agents I want to move in the area to. So going and visiting properties. And it's just, you can't do it in a day. It's a series of micro phone calls and decisions that nudge you along the way, along the line.
And what exactly? So now, because there are so many people understanding that actually you moved houses, and that whole process. If you ask me that I'm gonna be moving houses tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, ah, you know. So what are the main takeaways from that process? What that taught you?
Well, I think being a mother to four children and running a business has also taught me this as well. But nothing happens in an instant. You don't
Mm-hmm.
just move house in a day. I wish you could. You can't navigate a new business in a day. You can't start and complete a project in a day. It's it's having stamina, I guess, for the everyday and
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that you can't do it all in a day. And so
Mm-hmm.
what's the next mini step? What's the next mini step? What's the
Mm-hmm.
next mini step? And whilst you're making the mini steps, recognizing that I'm a human in all of these mini steps and am I okay? Rather than these mini steps becoming massive steps every day and I'm just swamped by it. It's like, no, I'm Dolly. I'm steering a ship through quite a lot of mini steps. It's quite a bumpy ocean, but it's okay. It's just you just keep looking at the horizon and taking each little wave and making sure that I'm strong enough to hold the ship. And I did that
So
by, yeah, this is fun.
So this is so powerful what you are saying about this kind of like small simple steps, um, because people that are really tempted sometimes, and I might deviate, but I bring the everything back, no worries. um, People that are just saying, oh my god, I need to achieve that kind of big shiny kind of objective, and they are running towards that, but in the meantime there are so many small simple steps which mean so much, and they give you so much as learning, and we don't celebrate, and we don't give ourselves permission to breathe because we think about that big one. But what you said is like very, very powerful. So keep going, keep going.
I think it's so interesting with I have learned a lot about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think resilience was this strong, superpowered strength that you just take on the waves of life, and I've learned in my lots of transition in the past 5 years, with lots of micro things transitioning daily, 4 children growing up, a business growing, etc., a divorce thrown in, a house move, that um, that actually resilience requires quite a lot of surrender and submission to the difficulty. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the word submission. I know it's a bit of a dirty word, like don't submit, but sometimes we have to submit to something bigger than ourselves, and it doesn't hurt as much. You know, if you're trying to fight off a beast, sometimes it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
just I'm going to die anyway. I'll just die in calmness. It sounds miserable,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things are too big to manage, and if we're fighting it, we burn all the energy, and it hurts. Sometimes, if you've ever had your arm, as a child, I remember having my arm stuck in a gate, and I remember fighting it. And when you just relax, you're still stuck, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And it's a surrender and a submission to the pain and to the difficulty. And I think I've learned a lot about that with, complex things and emotionally complex things and problems that are bigger than I can chew. There is an element of just surrendering to it. Doesn't mean giving in,
Mm-hmm.
but it means making sure I'm okay with something that's very big and difficult.
I
Yeah.
love this insight. I love this insight. And I just wonder how you take this forward into your
Mm.
life.
Well, actually, I'm really, maybe an impact I want to have with clients, with people, is giving hope in trials, that that we don't, not no one's a superhero, no one's amazing. Like, funny enough, with extraordinary, I don't want anyone to be extraordinary. It's another burden. Be extraordinary. Gosh, no, 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 no. The whole point is be ordinary. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, but be your ordinary and your own strengths, and that's okay. Like, surrender to the fact that you can't smash life and do it all perfectly all the time. It's just find little extra ways that you can add into your ordinary. And it's like, resilience for me is so commonly such a misunderstood term, I think, of what it
Mm-hmm.
is. And I think there's real wisdom in surrender sometimes, and into softening into difficulty, rather than that kind of masculine energy we all have of like, fix it, solve it, success, results. It's like, take a beat, soften. This hurts. How can we just rest in this difficult moment and then get wisdom to know how to maneuver out of it? I think that's kind of, something I want to take with me. Wow.
Amazing. You
Laura, this is
just
so fun.
elaborated your unique story.
I love this. This is like turning into Dolly's 101 coaching session. I love it. But it's powerful because you've really unlocked some and
You
articulated some
really,
stuff.
yeah, you articulate it actually, and that can be articulated very simple. You can reflect, you can put it on paper, you can record it, but after that you can polish it a bit, because I wrote what you just said.
No.
Yes, now it's already in the open. So because this is going to be to be seen by so many people, but just to really structure about around the story framework. So when
Yep.
you are thinking about, the scene
Yep.
setter. So you are in a moment in your life when you are making a shift from, you are going through a divorce, and because going through a divorce created that kind of tension, which made you switch houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And switching houses, people might think that it's an easy U-Haul kind of process, but it's not simple at all, right? So the opportunities, it comes with an opportunity, this kind of switching houses, but you faced a process which was pretty complex, in fact, with a lot of phone calls, legal things, blah, blah, blah. But the opportunity was that you started to really do things in small, simple steps.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that, right? And what emerged out of this emerged this kind of beautiful, and I hope that I captured that word, that beautiful realization about the meaning of resilience, what resilience is for you, and how actually that for you declines in the submission and surrender. And what you took out of all that with you is that you really, in fact, you are just a human being doing ordinary things, and you really need to add that extra layer of softness for yourself, first of all.
100%.
That's your story.
You've just done all my marketing for the next 2 years.
You can take it. Imagine. So Dolly, imagine that you take this, you put it, you know what, you can put it in your personal chat GPT or whatever GPT you are using, and you polish it a bit, and you get to have it on your social media.
So
You
good.
share it, you share it with people who will resonate. Imagine women going through a divorce, or anyone going through a switching houses. They will resonate with that.
Yeah.
They will be connected with your pain, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But they'll also be connected with your what it means for you, and they're gonna start thinking, oh, surrender, submission. Never thought about it. Let me think about it.
It's powerful. It's really powerful. And I'm just thinking now, like, for anyone who hasn't done that, because I have, I mean, I've done it in similar ways, but not as raw as that. But actually, I wonder, people should get in touch with you for sure, Laura. If you're listening, like, do reach out to Laura and get a session with her, because it will help you in your if in a different context. If I'm leading a team and I came to you and said, hey, help me tell my story to my team, I want it to be more open. Hey, help me connect with my company's mission, I don't really know if I'm aligned with it. It's helping you, because there is something deep that went on in me then, that when I'm more connected to my business than I was 10 minutes ago. And that's a real shift, Laura. So you've just impacted
Yes,
me.
yes.
That's another.
So I would say like this, creating these micro stories is just a very small, simple step. And indeed, I have a bit of a larger framework
I bet.
where the micro stories, they are the platform. You start exercising, you exercise the framework, the story
Yeah.
framework. Exercising and becoming familiar, you move into 3 steps, which actually will help you connect with your identity, is going to help you connect with your bigger story, that kind of story which actually has the aha moments, and is also going to connect back with your purpose. It's a different. I teach that framework. The outcome from that exercise is going to be something which you can go very, very confident and true to yourself and
Yeah.
authentic, to share your 30-second story, your 2-minute story, large audiences speaking, connected with your purpose, connected with your identity. It's beautiful, and I do that as a passion. I did it for myself. I did it for all of my friends, by the way. So
Gosh, you know, Laura, I would love to have you on for a part 2 where we could talk more about those parts and building up the micros into a bigger story. If you would be willing to come back, it would be amazing. Because
that will be, you see that I'm all in. So, and
yay,
I'm
yay,
all in, and definitely, because I think, when people, they connect with their stories and they carve out that time to really reflect. It took us like less than 5 minutes just to go
right?
bam, 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 bam. But that kind of muscle of reflection, the white space, to sit with yourself couple of minutes, half an hour every day,
Wow.
as a leader, that's critical. As an individual, it's imperative, because that is going to help you, one, to really,
Mm-hmm.
have the right understanding about the steps which they brought you where you are right now.
Yeah.
But it's also going to help you to be proud and to craft the unique thing about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Your unique story.
Because when you're with people versus when you're on your own, when you're with people, it relies more on what you are. Whereas when you're alone, it relies more on who you are. Like when you're alone, you're exposed to who am I in the silence.
Yes.
But when
Yes.
you're with people, you are able to provide a what I am. And it's if we're living
Yes.
with people all the time and just putting on a front, we're living in the what, not the who and the why. So that aloneness and that self-reflection is significant if we want to be a leader that can be present, have that energy, access our strengths, etc. Laura, we are out of time, which I'm so sad about, but I would love to know, what is your household item that for you personifies extraordinary leadership and why?
Okay. Only one or just two?
Only
Okay.
one, I'm afraid.
Only one. Only
Cool.
one. So, um, when I started to think about embracing entrepreneurship, I had a lot of time to think and to reflect. And being an artist, writing poetry, I find myself an artist most of the time. I also started to paint different things. So this is a painting which is very abstract, but what it signifies the journey and the corridor through which we are going through this life, and the fact that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Hey, I love that. I really
And
love that.
and I love painting is another like outlet which I'm like using time to time. But my favorite outlet, it's as I said, my writing, and painting goes hand in hand with my book. And
Yes.
we talked about it, and I encourage everyone who is interested to really play a bit with creating some lyrics and putting their own story into some very cool metaphor. Try to experience stories with purpose.
I love that. If we want to get a copy of your book, where can we get it?
Amazon and all digital platforms.
Fantastic. So we will put that in the show notes. And I know as well, by the time this is released, that you've got a free resource enabling people to connect and write stories. So we will put
Yes, I will share with the example which I used, or any other example, the story
brilliant.
framework, and just for people to have it to just trying to reflect, when you are in traffic, or you are in Uber, 20 minutes ride, take it out
Amazing.
and reflect a bit.
I love that. So we will put that resource in the show notes along as your Instagram handle, LinkedIn, etc. But
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It has been really, really impactful. I feel like you've impacted me about 6 times. So can I be 6 different people? You've taken your list down from 1,000,000 to even less. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having me. I hope that, your viewers, your listeners, they're going to enjoy this episode. And definitely, I will love to be back for more because I feel that I'm so connected with you and I love your stories.
Oh, thanks, Laura. I can't wait. What an amazing treat that was. I feel like for me personally, it was a kind of one-on-one coaching session that I really hope you were able to put yourself in my shoes and experience something impactful for you and your story, how you can recognize it and move forward with it. I love how Laura really highlighted the difference between success and impact. And actually, it's not one or the other, but it's how do the two come together? And that exercise where she got me to write down, I know my strengths with my non-dominant hand and my dominant hand, was a really, really significant experience. And I really want to encourage you to try that, just to recognize how exhausting it is to be operating in your non-strengths. So if you want to find out your strengths more, do get in touch with Laura as a strengths coach, or feel free to speak to me. I help people really understand the dynamics of their personality and their wiring and the way that they approach task, relationships, connection, because we're all really different, and it's really important to know yourself in order to lead yourself with the energy and the cadence that you want. And if you want to know any more about the work that I do, just reach out to me, info@dollywaddell.com. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.